Formula One has seen plenty of circuits in and out of its calendar over the years. Some vanish quietly, while others stage dramatic returns. On today's episode of Abandoned F1 Tracks, we'll be taking a step back in time to 1984, when Formula One decided to go racing on the streets of Dallas, Texas. The 1980s were a turning point for Formula One's expansion efforts, particularly in the United States. With races already being held in Detroit and Las Vegas, F1 leadership was eager to further establish a foothold in the American market. In 1983, a new proposal emerged, a Grand Prix through the streets of Fair Park in Dallas, Texas. The plan was backed by a mix of government officials, F1 executives, and a group of investors led by legendary car designer and racer Carroll Shelby. Fair Park, a 277-acre development constructed in 1936 for the Texas Centennial Exposition, sat just a few miles east of downtown Dallas, making it a uniquely historic and central location for a race. At the time, the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex was exploding in popularity. The TV show Dallas was a global sensation, and the Dallas Cowboys were one of the NFL's most recognizable franchises. While Dallas and Fort Worth weren't officially twin cities like Minneapolis and St. Paul, they're just 30 minutes apart, together forming one of the fastest-growing metro areas in the country. Fort Worth brought more than just numbers to the table, though. It was home to some of the largest stockyards and cattle trading centers in the Western Hemisphere. With Dallas's white-collar business reputation and Fort Worth's blue-collar grit, the region offered a well-rounded American identity. In many ways, it made sense for Formula One to bring its global spotlight to North Texas. After months of negotiations and preparation, Dallas officially secured a spot on the 1984 Formula One calendar. But what many didn't realize at the time was that the race's biggest challenge had already been decided before a single lap was ever run. Formula One originally wanted the Dallas Grand Prix to take place in the fall, ideally spacing out the U.S. races to build interest across the season. However, the Texas State Fair, Fair Park's main annual event, always took place in the weeks of late September and early October, making a fall race logistically impossible. The only date left on the Formula One calendar that year was July 8, 1984. That meant staging a high-stakes Formula One race in the peak of Texas summer, just 4 days after the 4th of July. With temperatures regularly soaring into the triple digits and the track surface untested in such conditions, concerns were already simmering before the engines roared. What was meant to be a landmark moment for American F1 ambition was already facing serious heat, literally and figuratively. The street circuit design was not exactly built with a blank canvas. With several national and historically protected landmarks situated on the fairgrounds, including the likes of several monuments and a 90,000-seat multipurpose stadium, the track architects certainly had to get creative. Described as a tedious, narrow, and dangerous route, a majority of the turns were blind, had questionably designed chicanes, involved all concrete braking zones, and the track was nearly entirely surrounded with walls and old tires. The Friday and Saturday sessions saw teams and spectators fighting sweltering heat with temperatures peaking at over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Lotus seemed to be the team to beat at the new track as Nigel Mansell took pole position and the team locked out the front row. Former driver and current F1 commentator Martin Brundle crashed out of Friday's session and was taken to the hospital. But despite all of the anxieties leading up to Sunday, the biggest headache came on Saturday, when a Can-Am Series event tore up several sections of the track, and crews had to work overnight in order to return it to its proper condition. Originally scheduled for an 11 a.m. start to beat the heat, the race was delayed by 5 hours due to track maintenance. By the time the lights went out, temperatures had soared to a blistering 104 degrees Fahrenheit. The race distance was also reduced from 78 laps to 68, and despite the delays and growing curiosity, the track was patched up in time, and a crowd of 100,000, including former President Jimmy Carter, was on hand to witness the dramatic start of the 1984 Dallas Grand Prix. Nigel Mansell led early from pole position but faded after tire issues and contact with the wall, eventually collapsing while trying to push his car across the line. Keke Rosberg emerged as the winner after a tough battle with Alan Prost, who crashed while leading. The extreme 104-degree heat caused multiple retirements in bizarre moments, including drivers using cooling tricks like water-drenched pit stops and Rosberg's skull cap. After a chaotic weekend, the brutal conditions made the 1984 Dallas Grand Prix a one-off event. The Grand Prix only saw 8 drivers cross the finish line, with retirements coming from drivers such as Ayrton Senna, Nelson Piquet, Niki Lauda, and Alan Prost. F1 didn't exactly work out for Dallas in the 1980s, but the Lone Star State eventually saw success with the sport when it returned to Austin's Circuit of the Americas, a track commonly applauded by fans and drivers.